cybersecurity. A prolific Eastern European cyber criminal group has tried to back U.S. companies in the transportation, defense, and insurance sectors by mailing malicious USB drivers. That's according to an official FBI warning. And with me in the studio is Benzi Benatar, co-founder of Sepio Systems. Welcome. And welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me today. So now each and every one of us visit a road show, meet someone, visit your company, get something that looks naive as a USB, but it turns to be a weapon.
Yes, attackers have always understood that the easiest way into people's infrastructure is by using their human kind of defects, and the fact that people love gifts and they love giveaways made it an attractive attack vehicle for those attackers. Now, originally, those attack tools were mainly concealed within a USB thumb drives or things like that. People understood that these are risks, so they've stopped taking them. So they've moved into a more creative type of attack tools by, for example, charging cable, power banks, and other types of equipment. Basing their attack on the fact that people will, for greed or for interest, will plug them in if you offer them a $50 kind of coupon like they did in the US, and they will plug this in, and once it's plugged in, then the attack will commence.
If it's a sophisticated attacker, if it's a state, they want to pinpoint someone precisely. How do they do it? Because obviously people within the industry are more aware than people like me.
So I can give you an exact example for how state-sponsored activity do that. So there's a famous incident where the Russians tried to target the army camps in Kabul. So what they did, they've actually manipulated the supply chain so that every store within the vicinity of that camp will be selling previously manipulated thumb drives. So assuming that if you're a military personnel in that camp and you want to buy a thumb drive, then you will go to the nearest store. And when you get to that stand, you will actually buy, what would look like a naive thumb drive that you bought neutrally, but it will be heavily manipulated and include the exploit in it.
How can I trust you or anyone else? As you said, we all love giveaways. We all like presents, but we should be aware. So who should we trust and who should we not?
So being paranoid is always a good practice, and you shouldn't take things from people that you don't know the same way that you wouldn't take a medicine that someone just sent you over email. So you need to be extremely cautious about that. Use only reputable devices. Use only devices that you know where you've purchased them and what are their origins. And be very cautious about things that look too good to be true. So if you're just getting a thumb drive out of nowhere to your house, prompting you to plug it in and get $50 or $200, then if it's too good to be true, then it's probably not true.
Tell me about Sepio. What exactly is that you're doing?
Yeah, so Sapio is doing hardware access control. That means that we help enterprises manage risks that originates from the hardware assets. And the way we do it is that we look into the physical layer of things. So if you remember the known phrase, if it walks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, then it's a duck, then we question that. So we say, okay, if it sounds like a duck, it quacks like a duck, but it has the DNA of a duck, then it's a duck. So that means that we go deeper into the physical layer when we actually analyze the physical characteristics of those devices, whether it's a printer, a router, a switch, a server, and only when we get their physical layer fingerprint, then we can actually determine if this is a legitimate device or this is a device that's been manipulated in the supply chain or by internal abuser.
Benzi Benatar, thank you so much for joining me today. And we end with a story of heroism and recovery.